We say at Catalyst Missions that we are serious about ending theological famine. And we mean that in a couple of ways that are inextricably connected together. The first way we want to see theological famine ended is we want to see the unreached reached with the gospel of Jesus. We know from current mission statistics that of the world's ethno-linguistic people groups, about 7,400 of them are unreached and unengaged with the gospel of Jesus. And we know from Romans chapter 1, 18 and following, that unreached does not mean excused. And so there is an urgent need to see the unreached reached with the gospel. But there's another theological famine that is inextricably connected to that one. And it is that in the global south, sometimes called the majority world, generally speaking, the Latin Americas, Africa, and Asia, 75% of Christians now live there. But of the 2.2 million evangelical churches in that area, 80% roughly of pastors in those churches have little to no to insufficient theological training. What that amounts to is that often these churches are not fed with the sound doctrine of the scriptures, and they're not protected from heresy, so that whatever is multiplied in succeeding generations ultimately doesn't end up being the gospel. And what we're trying to do is to offer biblically robust training to pastors, ministry leaders, and disciples in these areas in the global south, so that what is produced are healthy churches multiplying the gospel in their own context and beyond. Because we believe that healthy churches is God's plan. Catalyst is not God's plan. The church is God's plan. And so we want to serve churches on the field by providing biblically robust training so that they have faithful and healthy leadership, faithful and healthy membership, and we want to involve local churches here in that work. Because what we see in the Bible is that God's plan is to have local churches multiplying the gospel to reach the unreached. In Acts chapter 19, Paul was in Ephesus, and what he did with his disciples there is sort of indicative of his entire missionary strategy. For 2 years after preaching the gospel in the synagogue in Ephesus, he drew away his disciples and trained them deeply for 2 years in what was called the Hall of Tyrannus. The result in Acts chapter 19, 8-10 was that all of Asia Minor heard the word of the Lord. Now basically, we believe that that happened because those disciples Paul trained were sent out to plant new churches in areas that had been previously unreached with the gospel. And these churches had the responsibility to reach their own context and beyond with the gospel of Jesus. So what we're endeavoring to do is to provide biblically robust discipleship to pastors, ministry leaders, and disciples in areas of the global south so that healthy churches are produced and that multiplication of the gospel will happen in their own context and beyond to other near culture neighbors who are often unreached with the gospel. In other words, if we can help end one theological famine, Lord willing, we can help end the other. That's what we're serious about. We're serious about ending theological famine, and we invite you to join us in this work.